here's my review of Dream Productions. This show is really good. This show is a lot of fun, and there's really not that many people. I don't really see any people talking about it. Inside Out 2 is literally the biggest movie of the year, and it is the biggest animated, most successful animated movie of all time. And then they released this show that is not only good, but also just wonderfully animated, and just no one's really talking about it. But I thought it was pretty good. It is not only a blast to watch, but I genuinely think that it does a good job of also bringing that emotion that we know so well from the movies and Pixar just as a whole that I really didn't expect. Like, I knew that this was still Pixar making it, but I really just thought it was going to just be a fun comedy show, and which it is. But it does have quite a lot of emotion to it, which I really really respect. Like, our main story is we're following like this main dream director named Paula, who's been directing dreams for Riley. Well, as she says, for what, 10 years, as old as she is or whatever. Which, there's a lot. I think that the Inside Out's comedy has always been really funny. I thought it was especially, the puns were especially good in Inside Out too. And this is like a franchise that so far, even though there's only like three things, well, we got Inside Out 1, Inside Out 2, the show, and then there were some couple of those shorts like Riley's First Dates, which was also good, but they really haven't missed. And like I said, this is just a fun show where we're following, like, I don't really know what they're supposed to be within the minds, but within this dream director, and it's really cool. And it's really cool just seeing like these fun dreams that Riley has and how they make them. And they're like the most simplistic kids' dreams, but it's interesting as they get almost more complex as she gets older, which is just so fascinating. I thought it was great. And I also thought that Zenny was also great, the daydream director. And there's just so many like those classic jokes of where like when you're just kind of like daydreaming in school or just randomly. And like I said, I think that the Inside Out has always nailed it with its humor that I thought was just great. And I think that just like right here, it's just another just shows like how good they are, at least in the comedy side of things. And like I said, there is some great emotion in here. And just this is only 4 episodes, which is why I was so impressed by it. Because there is this kind of big, like this conflict with Janelle, who's this assistant director who clearly wants to be a director of the dreams. And there is this kind of like, I think, great kind of almost passing of the torch kind of thing that they've done really well here that I thought was beautiful. And throughout like these 4 episodes, we almost have this sense of dread too, because there are stakes in this show. Like, we do know not only is Paula like by like the manager, like whoever, I don't like their main manager of at least the dream section, who's voiced by Maya Rudolph, who's always fun to listen to. She's great. Basically says, oh yeah, if you don't get good dreams, then you're fired. So that we do have this sense of like also like stakes within Riley's mind herself, but also in the real world, because we know that there's also a dance coming up that Riley is very excited for. And also, I just love how creative they take with the animation. And like I said, the animation is so gorgeous here. Like, for just what is essentially a TV show, I mean, I thought it looked just as good as the movies. It at least looked better than the first Inside Out, which, I mean, obviously, first Inside Out came out 9 years ago. This came out in 2024. But I would still say this is like on par with Inside Out 2 in terms of animation quality. I think it looks great for what is a TV show. And like I said, I love the unique styles of animation, like how there's a character who's basically just something that Riley drew almost in her head, as part of like in her imagination, and of this girl who's like this barista, and she's got like this French accent. It's just great. It's just this creativity that I just love about this world, about Inside Out. Another sense of like I think does so good in this show is how we have this sense of how Riley, at least from these dream directors or whatever they're called, I don't really like, they're not the emotions from Inside Out, but I don't really remember what they're called, but we do have this sense of like Riley is maturing. And like Janelle knows that, but like Paula really can't really grasp with that. And Janelle knows that like she needs more mature dreams. And it's very interesting because she has this nightmare where Riley almost kind of falls into that childlike thing with like more unicorns that she loves, but then that sense of growing older, knowing you need to grow out of it, and it all just kind of culminates in this nightmare of like what she's going to wear to the dance because she thinks what she's gonna, because Janelle thinks what Riley's going to be wearing to the dance is too childish and she shouldn't have this dream that should influence it. It's just very fascinating that I thought was great. Like I said, all this, I mean, all this great emotion and great animation and great comedy, all just for 4 episode show. I just was very impressed. And that's one thing that just impressed me so much about the show as a whole is we were able to follow. It's not an episodic show, but it is what essentially it is a ongoing story throughout these just 4 short episodes that are about they're about like 20 they're about like 30 minutes maybe. So you do get a good 2 hours of story here. I guess maybe there's a couple minutes credits, so maybe a little under 2 hours, but it's still very very good. And you do see some of the other emotions: joy, disgust, anger, fear, anxiety, sadness, but not any of the new ones because this takes place before Inside Out 2. But I was just impressed by how cohesive it was for just 4 episodes. And I think that it had a really sweet ending of how Riley thought almost there was this kind of subplot of like the dress that her mom made is too embarrassing, and but I think they do a good job like almost through the dreams because she has like these nightmare scenarios of like being embarrassed, but she eventually kind of just embraces it and just knows just to like have fun and just goes to this dance with her friends. And it's just a very sweet story that's only 4 episodes long. So yeah, I would say this show is just pretty great overall. I thought that it was beautifully animated. I still thought that it was hilarious. I think that, and it generally has just a great story. And I also really like it has like an almost documentary style of filmmaking to it. Like, of course, we have like these little interviews that really remind me of The Office. Like you can tell they just took inspiration from that. But even in the way it's filmed, sometimes they do that thing like in The Office where it zooms out and then kind of zooms back in. They do that in several like sitcoms like that. But like I said, I was really liked the way that it was filmed in the cinematography for what is just like this 4 part kids show. But like I said, it's very good. And I think that if you liked Inside Out, if you liked the first 2 movies, you're definitely gonna like this show. I think it's just as funny. It still looks beautiful. I wouldn't really say it ever gets to the emotional depth of those first 2 movies, but it's not trying to. It's really just trying to be a fun comedy show, and I think it does its job, and I think it's just a pretty solid show.